The last time Syracuse and Texas played a basketball game against each other, it was 2003. The Cuse won on the back of Carmelo Anthony and took home the national championship. Today, Carmelo Anthony was on the sidelines watching his former squad, and well, the Orange could have used him down the stretch. Texas beat Syracuse 70-66 in the Legends Classic, and the legend of free throws still lives on. Stay with us. Orange Press Pass starts right now. Welcome into our Waverly Avenue studios for Orange Press Pass, bringing you the post-game coverage from the Longhorns' 70-66 win over the Orange. Adam Avin, Sam Reis, and Josh Richardson here with you. Our reporter Skyler Wilkes is in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. We'll hopefully get to Skyler soon. But guys, Syracuse led a hard-fought second half. They couldn't come away with the victory, though. Sam, what are your first thoughts on tonight's game?
I immediately have to go to free throws. Where else would I be going here? That's what's gutting, really, for Syracuse, because you were in this game. You really should have won it. The way they really impressed me in that second half, came back in this game, but the highlight is 9 for 18 at the line. Simply put, Josh, that's pathetic. And if Syracuse doesn't fix this issue of being so inconsistent at the line, it's going to be a disappointing season, because as close as they can play teams like Texas, if you can't make your free throws, you're going to lose these games. This is a results-based business, Josh. It's got to be better.
Sam, we talked about how close Syracuse is going to play teams. And how about Syracuse playing Lemoyne, Colgate, and Youngstown State close, and then they go out and only lose by 4 to Texas? This is the thing. Syracuse is going to play to the level of its opponent every single night. Game in, game out. That's what's going to happen. Maybe that can come. SU gets hot from behind the arc when they play Duke. Maybe SU misses its free throws and gets into a bit of a struggle contest against Youngstown State. There are so many different factors that come into Syracuse this year that we don't know what's going to happen, but SU is going to be competitive all season long.
Well, if they're competitive like how they were in the second half of tonight's game, they should be just fine. Let's check out those highlights from the second half of tonight's contest. Syracuse started off really slow and had trouble going into the halftime break, but were lucky to pull it out from there. Guys, you talked about the free throws all game long. Syracuse down at halftime in double digits, but Texas starting off the second half with a three-pointer. Sam, the story of the first half was Texas was making every shot. Syracuse couldn't make a single one.
That really was the storyline. Texas shot 61% from the field in that first half. Now they finally cooled down in that second half, and that allowed Syracuse to get back in it.
And it was the big guy, Eddie Lampkin, doing it all for the Orange, igniting that second half comeback and one after and one. Dunk after dunk. Eddie Lampkin did it all for the Orange, Josh. That front court play was huge down the stretch.
Syracuse couldn't hit anything from behind the arc, so what do you do instead? Feed the big dogs in the paint. That's exactly what Eddie Lampkin provided for the Orange.
But Chris Bell also provided that spark, making that three and helping Syracuse get back in it, cutting the lead to just 3 points. And the Orange were inching and inching at that second half comeback, led by Eddie Lampkin making the shot right there. That baseline play was really important for them going forward. But the defense as well was equally important. That Chris Bell block, Sam, did it on offense, struggled in the first half, but had a huge moment defensively in the second.
He did, and I like the way Syracuse picked up the intensity on the defensive floor. This felt like a big-time game at the Barclays Center. The Orange finally woke up in those final 20 minutes.
J.J. Starling right there tied the game up 56-56. Eddie Lampkin got a foul, misses the first free throw.
Of course.
And then right here, makes the second one, 59-58, come back down from 16 to take the first lead of the game for the Orange. But of course, Trey Johnson, the true freshman for the Longhorns, was not done just yet. Had a poor shooting night, 4 of 18 from the field, but made that tough jumper to give the Longhorns the lead. And unfortunately for Syracuse and some foul trouble and some miscommunication on defense, they were not going away without a fight. Jordan Pope makes it 64-61. And Jaquan Carlos, no! With the game on the line and an opportunity to tie it, Chris Bell would have been wide open. And unfortunately, they just couldn't get the job done. Syracuse falls to Texas 70-66. Guys, a lot of big stories from this one. Sam, you mentioned the free throws early on. But Josh, I got to ask you about the play of Eddie Lampkin once again. The big guy play was important for them all game long, and if that's something that they could do going forward, it could be huge.
I mean, Adam, there's a point in the second half where Eddie Lampkin was responsible for 7 straight orange points. One of them came on that and one layup that we saw, and something that Eddie Lampkin is going to have to do all season, not just rebound. He's the only guy on the team other than Naheem McLeod, so only guy on the team that plays serious minutes above 6'9". So he's going to be the guy that has to do that. He's a good distributor, but what's important is getting that presence down low in the paint. SU can't live on the perimeter all game long.
Yeah, I mean, I will give Eddie Lampkin and the rest of this team credit, Adam, because they fought in this game. They showed resilience and showed they could compete with a very good Texas squad. I also love the energy Lampkin plays with. Always fired up, has that energy throughout. He's a big spark for this team. There were plenty of bright spots, I have to say, despite the loss.
Well, free throws were not one of them, guys. And if you know Syracuse basketball, you know free throws have been an issue for this team for a long time. You definitely know that from Syracuse.com's Brent Axe, who's become known for his saying #free throws matter, which has become a trend across social media, and especially after today's game. Let's see if we can bring all these up for you so you can read how many times Brent Axe actually said #free throws matter. Syracuse shot just 50% from the free throw line, missing none. And guys, they lost by just 4 points. So you can't help but think that if they made just 5 free throws in this game, we're having a completely different conversation right now, and Brent Axe wouldn't have to tweet this many times, #free throws matter.
I know, I mean, that's overwhelming on the screen back there, how many #free throws matter we see, but it's true.
Important. It's important.
Oh, it's extremely important, especially in a game that even if Syracuse played as well as it possibly could, you probably expected it to be close because it's a very quality opponent in Texas that's fast on offense. It was a matter of can Syracuse keep up with them, which they eventually did coming back in the second half. But when you miss 9 free throws, only a 50% conversion rate, it's pathetic, it's unacceptable. That's what cost them the game, Josh. This cannot happen.
Sam, with how bad Syracuse has been from the free throw line all season, I almost want to start a tally of how many nickels am I going to get for every Brent Axe free throws matter tweet. Because
You'd be rich.
I might be rich by the end of it. Because Syracuse, 65% from the line against Lemoyne. Lemoyne, of course, shot 17 of 23. 50% against Colgate. Colgate was right around that as well. 65% against Youngstown State, 50% tonight. Those are things that just can't happen. It's losses of points. They're called free throws for a reason. Capitalize and you win games.
Well, the free throw is obviously super important, but I think the thing that's been also pretty jarring is how well the opponents have been shooting from the free throw line as well. Syracuse is putting them in a position. I don't know if we want to stretch on this for a little bit, but I mean, it's really interesting to see how Syracuse is putting themselves in this position. They're basically handing the other team these wins, or at least the opportunities to get back in the game because of making all these free throws.
Well, here's an idea. How about learn from the opponents that can actually make those free throws? I mean, again, you're a college basketball player for an ACC school, and you can't make your free throws. You're gonna lose these games every time.
Adrian Autry has to have these guys in the gym lock them in the Mello Center for an extra 2 hours and just have them shoot however many straight free throws. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we have a lot more to talk about from this game. Some more in-depth free throw talk later on. Maybe we'll try and get our friend Skyler Wilkes in the Barclays Center. Stay with us. We've got a lot more basketball to talk about. Syracuse falls to Texas 70-66. Stay with us.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Adam Avin, Sam Reis, and Josh Richardson here with you, breaking down Syracuse's loss 70-66 to the Texas Longhorns. Texas unranked now, but still a very good team. And it was a tough one for Syracuse, and in the second half, they ultimately came very narrowly short of winning that game, and we have a lot more to talk about this loss. Guys, I know we talked about the free throws and things that were really important, but what other topics from the game stand out to you in terms of what Syracuse could have done to ultimately have gotten that win?
Well, I think in addition, and we're going to get more into this in a moment, Josh, but I think really some lineup decisions I was interested about, again, I'll delve into that a lot more later, but I thought at certain times there were opportunities to, put the likes of Donnie Freeman into the game for stretches where, Syracuse was right in this game, neck and neck with Texas down the stretch, and that just didn't happen. So I did have a few questions about what players were on the floor, especially in the late stages of this game, in addition to the free throw struggles.
I think it wasn't just about which players were on the floor. It was also about which combination of players were on the floor, because it's one thing to have the best 5 guys out there, or maybe you have 5 3-point shooters, but if they can't work as a cohesive unit, that's going to be a problem. You can have Donnie Freeman on the court. You can have, I don't even know who else. You can have Elijah Moore on the court. You can have you can have Jaquan Carlos on the court, but if they aren't surrounded by players that are going to benefit and play to their strengths, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, kind of the decision-making that we might think is in Adrian Autry's head, especially down the stretch late in games. A lot of other good ones happening around the NCAA. Let's do a check-in right now. Texas Tech and St. Joseph's in the second half, 10 minutes to go. St. Joseph's beating Texas Tech. Syracuse, because they lost today, will play the loser of that game as well. So that should be an interesting one. Obviously, Texas today, the Longhorns move on, will play the winner of this game, which, Josh, right now, it looks like it might be St. Joseph's.
It might be St. Joseph's, but the Red Raiders are making this a contest just over halfway, or just under halfway through the second half. It was a 10-point game at the half. St. Joseph's only scored 12 points in the first 10 minutes of the second half. So that can really get interesting. But how about that Baylor-St. John's game? Double overtime.
Some feast week action early on. Thanksgiving classics.
Yeah,
buzzer beaters.
That's the one that sticks out. It was a Jeremy Roach. Yeah, the guy still plays college basketball, believe it or not. 3-pointer at the buzzer in double overtime. That's a great top 25 matchup that delivered and then some. Virginia-Tennessee finally got underway after that lengthy game down in the Bahamas. That will be an interesting one, too. I got the Vols, but Virginia, a pesky team, even without Tony Bennett.
Yeah, and you remember that Syracuse-Tennessee game from last year in Maui, and once again, they actually play in a couple weeks from now, so it should be a really exciting one against the Rick Barnes-led Tennessee squad that can do some damage. And if you remember that game from last year, Syracuse struggled at the beginning and tried to fight their way back in the second half, just like they did today, ultimately coming up short. But guys, through the first 4 games of this season, the second half comebacks have been something that have been really key for Syracuse and giving us some hope, momentum, just as people watching the games and seeing like, oh, this team does have resilience. They can fight back and potentially win these games if they do things right, like make their free throws. So Josh, what is the key to these second half comebacks, and what do you think they can do going forward to make sure that a result is a win?
Well, I think there's been a lot of different things that Syracuse has done over the last few games. I think tonight, the main difference was Syracuse playing man-to-man in the second half, whereas the zone was the main defensive key in the first half. Not something we saw a whole lot of from Syracuse during the first 3 games. Kind of went into the zone almost to kind of protect Eddie Lamp getting down low. It didn't work. Plain and simple, it did not work. Getting back into that man sense, maybe getting Donnie Freeman a little bit more action, different things like that to kind of get your athletes on the ball, near the ball. Moments like that can help kind of provide Syracuse a defensive spark moving forward.
Definitely, Josh. And I will give the team a ton of credit for the resilience shown in this game. A game they could have folded in because Texas was, simply out hustling them. They were too quick for Syracuse to handle defensively in that first half. The Orange went down by 16. Now, despite the great effort shown in the second half, I think you need to come out hotter out of the gates, because if Syracuse had done that and played a much better first half, similar to the second half, we're talking about an Orange win here. So the potential was seen there in the second half. I think the adjustments were a key, better hustle on the defensive end of the floor, and they also did a great job of moving the ball inside because the 3-point shots clearly weren't falling. So I think you got to give credit in terms of the adjustments that were made and ultimately paid off, but not quite enough for for Syracuse in those final 20 minutes.
Yeah, so Syracuse obviously went down against Youngstown State at the half, and Lemoyne. Those were programs who should have come out stronger a little bit, and you would have liked to see that against Texas today, guys. But a big issue that we noticed when we were watching that game and trying to break it all down were the lineup decisions in the second half specifically. Some players that helped Syracuse get back in the game were nowhere to be seen. And the players that might have been struggling, who we thought, oh, they could maybe take a seat and let these other guys take charge, were put in the game late, just as Syracuse looked like was about to get over the hump. So these decisions by Adrian Autry can be brought into question a little bit, Sam, especially when you have the best recruit since Carmelo Anthony on the bench after he led almost a 16-point comeback win.
I'm glad you brought him up. That Donnie Freeman, that's immediately where I go to. And it's a head scratcher for me, Josh, because Donnie Freeman, I get it. He's just a freshman. It's his fourth game of his collegiate career. But he's such a highly touted freshman that we all expected to make an immediate impact. And that's the frustrating thing, because he is making an impact. And I don't get it. He only plays 15 minutes this entire game. And when he was on the court, he did some good stuff. You're seeing it right here on your screen. He didn't play a good chunk of the middle of that first half. Adrian Autry put him back in for the end of that half. He made a massive three-pointer to really swing momentum a bit back on Syracuse's side. But then in the second half, he only gets 4 minutes of playing time. I don't get why he's not on the floor down the stretch. This is a versatile playmaker that can do a little bit of everything for this team. And I thought he's proved his worth in the minutes he's got, Josh. And he only had 15 against Colgate. Then he played most of that Youngstown State game, but now back to just 15. I don't understand it.
I don't know why Donnie Freeman, can put up 9 points and 2 rebounds and then just get sat and almost exiled to the end of the bench for a majority of the second half, especially in the clutch minutes. He's a starter on your team for a reason. Play him like a starter. I don't care that he's a freshman. But on the other side of it, Elijah Moore. Why is Lucas Taylor playing double the minutes of your 4-star recruit, one of the best freshmen that SU has also brought in over the last few years? This is a guy that has to get more opportunities, get him more shots, get him more comfortable and confident in this offense, and he will thrive as a very good weapon from beyond the arc, especially to kind of pair off with Chris Bell.
Yeah, Peter Mostarovich as well, a guy who was supposed to be here, but played 0 minutes today. This Orange rotation still being figured out, and while Coach Autry still is figuring out lineup decisions, for Texas it's very clear who should be getting the ball in the big moments. Trey Johnson, the true freshman, delivered when it counted. 16 points, 3 assists, and went 6 of 6 from the free throw line in the final minutes to secure the win for Texas. Yes, he shot 4 of 18. Yes, he shot 1 of 7 from 3. But in every other game this year, he's shot at least 50% or better from 3. He had an off night shooting. And SU made it difficult for him, but not difficult enough, and showed up when it mattered most. When we return, Trey Johnson and the Longhorns have Sam and Josh hitting the panic meter. You don't want to miss it. OPP returns just after this.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Welcome back into our CitrusTV studios. Adam Avin, Sam Reis, and Josh Richardson breaking down Syracuse's loss to Texas 70-66 at the Legends Classic in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Syracuse taking that trip to Brooklyn, and guys, they were away from the Dome this weekend. We thought we were going to get a nice break. Maybe we were going to relax. They would have had fun playing in a different arena for a change, and no, we were panicking during that game because they went down big to start the first half. And that, obviously, they couldn't pull it together at the end. So we have some topics we're going to be talking about, things that got you guys panicking, maybe for the future of the season. And we got to start none other than where we started off our show. That free throw shooting, Sam, was key for Syracuse in this game. It's been key for them all season long. They've struggled, but specifically in this one, if they make a few more free throws, maybe they pull out a win. So on the panic meter for you, how much are you panicking about the free throws going forward?
Yeah, listen, the audience might be annoyed of us continuing to bring up free throws, but that's because free throws matter, in the words of Brent Axe. And I am very panicked about this, Josh. I have it right here. 58 for 95 is Syracuse at the line in the first 4 games.
That's pathetic.
That's 61%. That's almost an F if you're in school. Sadly similar to my grades, but that's neither here nor there. But they got to make their free throws. 61% through 4 games, and that's the main issue for me, Josh. It's not like this is a one-off thing tonight. This has been a repeating incident where it's over and over again where they're missing free throws, especially big ones down the stretch. Now, they got lucky in those close games to begin the season against Lemoyne, Colgate, and Youngstown State, despite missing some crucial free throws. Tonight, it certainly backfired against a much better Texas squad.
Sam, I'm going to be very blunt about this. I am extremely worried about Syracuse making shots from the free throw line. And for the viewers that may have tuned in to our last Orange Press Pass, Tyler Aitken did a fantastic job representing all that Syracuse has to do going to the line. 2 steps, 1 dribble, bend your knees and shoot. That's it. That's all you have to do. That was a swish. Yeah. Put me at the line. I'm making 8 to 10 free throws. I don't care how big the brights are.
I can make like 6.
If you can't handle the bright lights at Syracuse University, go to Western Kentucky. I don't care. Syracuse has to be better shooting from the free throw line when the game is on the line. It's pathetic, and we need to see more from SU moving forward.
There you go. Harsh words from Josh Richardson via Tyler Aitken from last week as well. But another big thing for Syracuse in this game was the 3-point shooting. They struggled for most of that game, and for all season long now, Syracuse's best 3-point shooter from last season, Chris Bell, known as one of the best 3-point shooters in all of the ACC, has struggled. And in this game, that continued as well, even though he was up there for the Orange in points tonight. So Josh, how panicked are you about Chris Bell going forward?
I'm not. I'm really not. This is a situation where Chris Bell has been a streaky shooter. He's been a streaky player for the last 3 years that he's been at Syracuse. It just happens that this slump is coming a little bit earlier in the season than the last few have. So when I see Chris Bell on the court and I see him not shooting as well from 3, I just think that it's regression to the mean. He's going to shoot about 40% over the next couple games. He'll get right back over to that 35% spot. It's where he's been for his entire Syracuse career. I'm not worried just yet.
I mean, I hope you're right that he's going to get going soon, but we're now 4 games in. I really thought this was the night where Chris Bell would finally find his form, but he didn't. 0 for 2 from beyond the arc. He just doesn't seem like himself. I have the stats right here. He's shooting 22% from 3 this season, 42% last year. I'm moderately panicked. I'm getting more and more panicked because he's not himself.
Yeah, guys, last one here. Obviously, Chris Bell was a returner, but Hofstra transferred Jaquan Carlos, who was supposed to be the leader for the Syracuse offense, the distributor, the playmaker. Sam, how panicked are you about his performance? Because it hasn't been there through these first 4 games.
It hasn't been, but I'm not too panicked, Josh. I've been a little concerned with his struggles early on, but listen, no matter how good you play at a school like Hofstra, no offense to Hofstra, making a move to a Power 5 school like Syracuse, that's a big jump. And I think I want to give him more time. He's just 4 games into his Syracuse tenure. The expectations may be a little bit too high. Again, it's a big jump to go from Hofstra to Syracuse, so I'm not too panicked just yet.
I'm a little panicked. I think the issue is that I don't really know how panicked I should be, and that's the part that scares me. But I am a little panicked because the thing is with Jaquan Carlos is he's coming off of a very good career in Hofstra, 2-time CAA defensive, all-defensive team, averaged 6.5 assists, over 1.5 steals. This is a guy that Syracuse came in to be the primary ball handler. and he just hasn't been that. I want to see what he can do a little bit more at this level before I get really nervous, but it hasn't been very productive and very good so far.
All right, we're going to pause our panic meter conversation because when we return, Skyler Wilkes joins us from the Barclays Center. Stay with us to hear Skyler break down Syracuse's loss to Texas 70-66.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Welcome back into our CitrusTV studios. Adam, Avin, Sam Reis, and Josh Richardson closing up shop here on Orange Press Pass. But before we get to that, our friend Skyler Wilkes is in the Dome. Last week, he had a beard on our airwaves, but it's gone today. Hey, Skyler, how are you, my friend? On the phone, despite SU's loss over the course of the season, they've been putting together really solid second half efforts. So what's been the key for that, and how well has it worked so far?
Adam, it's great to hear from you. I think a big part of that turnaround for Syracuse was the defense. You know, they were playing really sloppy in the first half. Texas was having its way, but the Orange really came out of the locker room firing. They were playing really aggressive. Trey Johnson, who's the SEC's leading scorer, didn't have any success really. He had 12 points, averages over 23 a game. So really impressive defense. Definitely the best we've seen so far from SU.
All right. Thanks, Skyler. Really appreciate you for joining us. Sorry for any technical difficulties that we may have been experiencing in the show, but we're glad that we got you on, my friend. Oh, Skyler's back, and you guys have some questions for him.
Yeah, we still have Skyler. Don't worry. I believe we do.
Yeah,
I hope we do.
We hope we do. Skyler, I'm curious to know, because I'm sure it was a big talking point in the presser about the free throw issues for this team. How did Adrian Autry address that after the game?
Well, you know, Sam, when I asked Adrian Autry directly this question, right? And he had an answer. It was simple. Just got to make free throws. It's a really simple part of the game, but the team just didn't execute today. I think that was the message with the entire team in the locker room and even in the press conference. Adrian Autry was really disappointed. It's a part of the game that has struggled so far for Syracuse for the first 4 games of the year. And today it was really, really strengthened by an impressive Texas team that shot over 80% from the free throw line. So Adrian Autry's message, Sam, was really simple. It just can't happen, and they've got to execute.
Skyler, you're looking sharp as ever, first and foremost, let me say that. Second of all, Syracuse, no stranger to playing in the Barclays Center over the last few years. Empire Classic 2 years ago, win over Richmond in overtime, lost to St. John's in the same fashion. So what was the crowd like? What was the turnout for the SU faithful down in the Big Apple?
Josh, it was absolutely electric. I mean, it was a home game for Syracuse. Texas could barely do anything. I mean, it was really loud at certain points that you would have thought you were inside the Dome, but you weren't. You were in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. I mean, I probably saw less than a handful of Texas fans. Everywhere I looked, I saw a different type of orange, and it wasn't burnt. Syracuse had a great showing from the fan base. A lot of alumni were there. CitrusTV legend Liam Griffin was in attendance. There was a really great crowd from the Syracuse fans.
All right. Thank you, Skyler. We really appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed that game in Barclays as well. Guys, let's have some of our final thoughts here about this game, but at least a more important final thought that I think we need to talk about that's even more important than Syracuse losing tonight is that our dear friend Adam Cohen is sports directing his last show at CitrusTV. I want to say thank you to Adam, who's been a mentor for me. I'm excited to take your position and to have worked next to you for the past year. You're a great friend and you've done some awesome work. Adam Cohen's the best.
Oh, and that's understating it, Adam. some things are bigger than the game, and that's our guy Adam Cohen, who has had an incredible year as the sports director, doing great things from the station. Similar to yourself, he's been a great mentor for me as well, and we thank him for all of his hard work over the past year, Josh.
Adam Cohen was a friend to me. He was one of the first people that I met down in the station when he was the assistant sports director. Always a smiling face, someone that really made me comfortable being at this station.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this episode of Orange Press Pass. I could talk about Adam Cohen all day, though. Adam Avin, Sam Reis, and Josh Richardson, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.